April 1925, Paris, France. A well-dressed man walks into the Hôtel de Crillon, one of the most luxurious hotels in the city. He's invited 5 scrap metal dealers to a secret government meeting. He introduces himself as Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. And he has shocking news. The French government wants to tear down the Eiffel Tower. It's too expensive to maintain, too controversial, and they need it gone quietly. He's looking for someone to buy it, all 7,300 tons of iron, for scrap. One dealer, André Poisson, hands over 70,000 francs, over $1 million today, for the deal. But here's the twist. The man isn't a government official. He's Victor Lustig, history's greatest con artist. And a month later, he'll come back and sell the Eiffel Tower again. This is What If. Let me introduce you to Victor Lustig, a charming con man who spoke 5 languages and used over 40 fake identities, often posing as a count or baron. His signature scam was the money printing machine, a wooden box he claimed could duplicate currency. He'd preload it with 2 real bills to prove it worked, then disappear with the victim's money. But his most brilliant con was on Al Capone. In 1925, Lustig approached the gangster with an investment opportunity, asking for $50,000 to double it in 2 months. Capone agreed. Lustig did nothing with the money. After 60 days, he returned to Capone, looking defeated, and gave him back the entire $50,000, claiming the deal had fallen through. Impressed by Lustig's honesty, Capone gave him a $5,000 tip. That was the real con. But Lustig's masterpiece was selling the Eiffel Tower. Twice. In 1925, Lustig read a newspaper article about the Eiffel Tower's high maintenance costs and public controversy. He saw an opportunity. Using forged government stationery, he invited Paris's top scrap metal dealers to a confidential meeting at the Hôtel de Crillon. Posing as a government official, he announced the tower was to be sold for scrap. To seal the illusion, he gave the dealers a private tour of the landmark. He identified his mark, André Poisson, an insecure businessman eager to make a name for himself. Lustig then made his genius move. He met Poisson privately and asked for a bribe to ensure his bid was selected. This convinced Poisson the scam was a real, corrupt government deal. Poisson handed over 70,000 francs. Lustig fled to Austria and waited for the news to break. It never did. Poisson was too embarrassed to report that he'd been tricked into buying the Eiffel Tower. 1 month later, Lustig returns to Paris to sell the Eiffel Tower again. But this time, something goes wrong. If you're loving this story of history's boldest con man, hit subscribe. We cover legendary scams, master criminals, and the one mistake that always brings them down. Every single week. Now let me tell you how Lustig went from Paris icon to Alcatraz inmate. Emboldened by his success, Lustig returned to Paris to sell the tower a second time. But this time, a suspicious dealer contacted the police. Lustig fled to America, where he continued his cons, eventually getting caught by the Secret Service in 1935 for counterfeiting. Held in a Manhattan detention center, Lustig pulled off one last incredible escape. He cut through his window bars with a smuggled saw, climbed down a rope made of bed sheets, and simply walked away, pretending to be a window washer when people stared. He was a free man for 28 days before being recaptured after a high-speed chase. In 1936, he was sentenced to 20 years in Alcatraz. The smoothest con man who ever lived finally met his match in The Rock. His health failed, and on March 11, 1947, Victor Lustig died of pneumonia in a Missouri prison. His death certificate listed his occupation as apprentice salesman. The perfect end for a man who built a life selling things that weren't his. Victor Lustig sold the Eiffel Tower twice, conned Al Capone, escaped from a maximum security prison, and lived like a king for decades. He spoke 5 languages, used 40 fake identities, and was called as elusive as a puff of cigarette smoke. But greed destroyed him, and he died in prison at 57, listed as an apprentice salesman. Would you have reported the scam if you were Poisson? And which of Lustig's cons do you think was the most brilliant? Let me know in the comments. If the story amazed you, hit subscribe. Next week, The art forger who fooled museums for 30 years and made dollar millions selling fake masterpieces. You won't believe how he finally got caught. Until next time, keep asking what if.